Good morning and welcome to a special episode of Smashi Business. I'm Lubna Hamdan.
And I'm Richard Fitzgerald.
And we're here at the Web Summit in Qatar. And it's extremely exciting. It's such an atmosphere. It's great to see the city really embracing the summit, right? We saw all the branding across the city last night.
Yeah, where do we start? Like, we only arrived here at 5 p.m. yesterday out of Dubai, but it's like we're really coming to a huge event. The city and the country has embraced Web Summit, the first ever of 5 years. Web Summit, as you covered yesterday, started in Dublin in a small auditorium in 2009. It expanded to Lisbon, companies all over the world. And this is the first one in the Middle East. And it's really capturing what's happening with investment, with entrepreneurs. And there's so much of that sentiment that we'll really dive into.
And who thought that this would happen here in Qatar instead of Dubai, right? Sorry guys, I'm just moving my phone, it's fine.
Yeah, like Qatar, I think originally, the Web Summit, when they evolved out of Dublin, they had discussions with the Irish politicians, and the ambition of the founder, Fadi Ghandour, to make this bigger wasn't met, and he felt there was a little bit lacking of ambition with regulation. So He moved it out of his native Ireland, and he's very patriotic, to Lisbon, who were the highest bidders. And Lisbon turned that city into Web Summit Town in November every year.
Yeah. And
then when it came up for renewal after a few years, many cities, like over 15 cities, bidded for the Web Summit. So when they decided at some point that, post-pandemic and events bounced back, that they wanted to come to the Middle East, they started speaking to many governments across here.
Yeah.
They'd tell us the full story, but there was other interested parties, and Qatar's winning bid, like an expo, came out on top.
And Fadi Ghandour is not here.
Fadi Ghandour was not here. He was forced to step down for a tweet calling out war crimes post
in Gaza,
post 7th of October. And he was forced to step down from the company that he founded and he owns 80% of. But Catherine Mayer stepped in, and she's acting CEO, and this is her last performance. She's going into another sector, but she spoke so well last night. Paddy loves surfing, and he's in the east coast of Ireland with his child at the moment, so he's not in Qatar. It's a shame, because he really does, anyone who's been to Web Summit before and in Lisbon, Paddy, does bring the charisma on the stage on opening night. But I have to say that Catherine, the founder of Washington Post all those years ago, Catherine Mayer, spoke so well on stage yesterday. A lot of Arabic, putting me to shame. A lot of Arabic in her speeches.
I heard that not from the inside of the Web Summit, because unlike some people, I wasn't allowed in.
Thank you to a friend at Web Summit who I used my Irish Mafia alumni, and I got a chairperson badge, even though I'm definitely media today, so yeah.
I mean, you know what though, it's great to see such a big crowd here, because some people are saying this is the biggest crowd since the World Cup. There were at least hundreds of people outside who were not let in, Richard. I was one of them.
Yeah, there were, and we didn't expect that Qatar would pull that off for tech. We haven't had a tech thing here, and the big announcement that we'll talk about. But Lumna, when they went to Rio for the first time last May, they spoke to the government. They said they'll get 5,000 people, and they had to stop selling tickets. And equally for Qatar, they had to stop selling tickets. We're in touch. With Love and Doha, we're in touch closely with the government communications office, the amazing team, and Sheikh Jassim behind this initiative, and they stopped selling. They said they could have sold more, right?
Yeah.
And to get 12,000 seats, and then they moved it up to 15,000 capacity.
Yeah.
They could have sold more, but for the first one, they wanted to have the right number of people, and they'd certainly done that.
I wonder if they knew that they would sell out, be sold out. Speaking of getting kicked out of things though, because you mentioned Paddy, and I think it's great that we mention him, because he did really help build the Web Summit, and it's a real shame that he's not at the event with us right now. But is it no longer the case that if a tech CEO speaks up about Gaza, that he's going to get cancelled? Because something huge happened on stage last night. Explain to us what happened when the moderator asked the CEO of Replit, Amjad Masad, if technology can help people dying of hunger in Gaza. What happened?
Yeah, I think let's just set the scene. So some people get into the auditorium, to the main stage, and it's buzzy, right? First of all, the Web Summit stage it's attack on the assets, on the senses. It's really bright, it's really big, and they had amazing showcase startups speaking for 2 or 3 minutes, and then they had keynote speeches, and the Emir spoke, and then the Prime Minister of Qatar spoke, and then there was a one-on-one interview with Amjad.
Amjad, yes.
Yeah, and so
he was Jordanian American, but his father is Palestinian. So he was a Palestinian refugee who went to Jordan. Amjad was born in Jordan, and then they moved to the US. So Replit is a US based.
And Replit is blowing up, Lubna. It's helping. It's the AI part of coding. It's making AI accessible to everyone. And he spoke at STEP last week, and he said that the West's view in this region is changing. As in his view of the West, because he's in the region, is changing, and he doesn't think the rest are on the, basically, I'll paraphrase, on the right side of history. So we covered that last week, and then, you know, just to say another thing that he mentioned on stage is like, it's inspiring, right? We need heroes here, and he kind of said, you know, I hope that the next Amjad, surname? Masad, that the next Amjad Masad doesn't have to go emigrate to the US to found Replit, and that they can be born here and stay in Qatar. And that's the sentiment of the event, that we want, that the, you know, and the fund that was announced as well, we get into that wants to do that. But you know, in the middle of it, so first of all, the moderator, who was very good, I didn't catch his name, he said, I need to ask you about Gaza, and directly. And I've been at conferences in the region since October 7th, and it hasn't been spoken about. So on the opening night, with all the royals here and the VCs of the world, it being brought up, and he very explicitly said, you know, tech can't solve everything. AI isn't the solution, it's the Israeli government that need to be more human. And that's exactly what he said, right?
He literally said, technology isn't a magic wand, you can't eat AI. It's about leadership and humanity. It's those in power in Israel who are not letting in food and water and medicine. And it's simple. It's ultimately, it's humans and what they do with technology. Are we good or are we evil? That's the age-old question.
And I think he's still CEO this morning, is he?
Yeah, exactly.
And Fadi wasn't when he sent a tweet about work crimes.
Yeah. So I think the sentiment is shifting a little bit, right? People are so pissed off that they're not afraid to speak up anymore. But you know what? I hope we do see Fadi back somehow. I you know what? Maybe he'll create something even bigger than this. I don't know.
Back.
Who knows? Who knows?
The Irish spirit. We don't give up easy.
Absolutely. And speaking of other exciting things that happened yesterday at the Web Summit, Qatar's Prime Minister announced a $1 billion fund.
Huge.
And you mentioned yesterday that when Saudi announced a fund a couple of years ago.
And when, you know, PIF, but there, you know, PIF is obviously a sovereign fund. But then, you know, there's a fund related to SVC, and they announced $500 million fund, and you know, they said, hey, you know, we didn't want to go in easy, right? We need to create unicorns in Saudi for the Tadwa or whatever. So in 2017, they just, instead of going in with, you know, an angel fund or 100 million, they go $500 million. And this regional startup scene stood up and went, oh, okay, we've got a new player. And I saw some people tagging their co-founders on our Smashi Business $1 billion fund last night, going, look at this, look, there's $1 billion slushing about
there's
in Qatar.
There's a bigger fund coming from small Qatar, right?
But why it's strategically very good, it's like, not only are they attracting here, and this will help image, and this will help tourism, and this will help people think about setting their startup here. There was a guy who has a there's a guy who spoke, he's been in Qatar for 8 years, and he set up his ads tech company 5 years ago here, and he's doing really well. So it was good to, on the stage last night, it was good to have inspiration that people can be founders here. But no, the fund can be obviously anywhere. We don't know full details of it, but we know that over the next 5 years, with all these people coming in, that this assignment of investments can be allocated by a Qatari fund. And then, like you mentioned, you know, I know there anecdotally, we were on the plane yesterday, and there was a lot of CEOs and founders of startups on the plane from Dubai, and one of them was Hussam from Tabi, and you mentioned to me, you showed me a press release. I told you that they had, so they had announced Tabi Plus, which is a subscription platform which allows you to pay in installments. So Tabi allows you to pay in installments basically, but they only work with certain vendors and companies and websites. But now you can get the subscription for the app, and look, they need to make money, right? Because at first the interest percentage that they were taking were high. They had to lower it in order to get more customers and users. Now they've come up with something else, the subscription app. It's genius, Tabi Plus. I love it. I would use it. It's just helpful to be able to pay
in installments.
And they raised money from a Saudi fund and they moved to headquarters Saudi. So we might see some of that coming to Qatar. But it's a very exciting fund and it's great to be here in the opening night. I'm so glad that we're here. I'm so glad that Smashi Business is part of it. It's quite cool.
Yeah, it
Look,
is.
and I were at breakfast this morning and we were saying that, like, you know, in the past you might go to business-related conferences around the world and it not be seen as exciting beat or brief for a journalism sector. But you know, usually that would be reserved for World Cups or Formula Ones or Olympics, but actually being part of the media at this buzzy event in the Middle East feels very exciting.
It's really exciting. And for anyone listening, or I don't know if they would be listening to this, but people who aspire to be influencers and just famous, please give these conferences a chance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're hanging out with Upton yesterday from Upton Media, and he's really good at this sort of content as well. He makes these events really consumer facing. If you look at how he edits his stuff, he's got a really good team.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be boring. It is really exciting. And hey, Tabby, for example, helps you shop, right? Like I use Tabby on Unas, and that's how I found out about it. I use it to buy dresses that I can't necessarily afford in 1 month. So there you go.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on to dresses and skimpy dresses, I would say.
Oh yeah. So it's not Web Summit, but before we got on the plane, we passed by
AIBC. What a name.
What a name.
What a name.
Let's just leave it there. AIBC Eurasia, but they seem to have events around the world. They bring together. What do they bring together?
Everything from e-gaming to blockchain to casino operators, AI, everything under the sun when it comes to anything tech, basically.
Crypto and all that.
Crypto, all of that. It was
a lot of casinos, a lot of alcohol.
A lot of alcohol, right? So it was at the festival arena, near Festival City, near the Creek Harbor. And usually when you have those events, you don't expect there to be alcohol or booze. But as soon as I stepped in, I just smelled it in the air. And then I thought, okay, Lubna, are you being paranoid or is it actually here? I didn't expect it to be. Then I saw a casino operator called Chili Partners.
Chili Partners, yeah.
And they had an open champagne bar. And it was incredible, and it was really well done. The hostesses were dressed as flight attendants, and they said, you know, fly with us, or I don't know, take your business to new heights, or I don't know, some clever, you know, line there. But anyway, generally, like there were all of these LED screens, you know, e-games that you can play on these machines. You know,
like I did say that it was impressive.
A lot of effort was put into it.
If I was a foreign events company and I came to Dubai and I cost and fitted out that area. By the way, the fit out, the boots were next level. Like I was in CES and I didn't see them as good as this. Like the flashy stuff going on. But it was really impressive. But you know, so we were just a bit surprised by that we didn't know anyone there. It was all people from abroad, from all different countries.
Mostly Russian speaking. That's
you
what I heard.
understand Russian, so you heard a lot of Russian speakers.
Yeah, I mean, I only heard Russian. I think the only English I heard was there was a panel hosted by Sara Al-Madani, who we still don't know exactly what she does. But we just know that she had 26.
She's a really good podcast.
26 companies.
Yeah. But she did mention that she's still involved in CEO as a kind of a cameo type.
That gets celebrities to say happy birthday to you.
Yeah. Let me get the name of that
I don't know
one.
if that's a major success story, Richard. I don't know.
I like Sarah. I think she's. I think it's important to have people who speak and champion female leadership and empowerment. A third of the startups here are female founded. That's
Where?
At Web Summit.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the statement. The big clap last night. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. I had no idea. No, that's great. Look, I don't mean to hate on everyone. I just I would like more information if I'm
Sarah hosted 8 panels yesterday. Got lots of people on stage. Huge energy into it.
Yeah.
While other people are, you know, whinging about the world on Twitter, and she's out there doing stuff.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I mean, we'll discuss we'll discuss that later. But right. Cool. We've got a really exciting interview coming up. It's one of my dream interviews. I mean, I've interviewed him before. He's a total legend. Fadi Ghandour, of course, is the one and only Fadi Ghandour that I'm talking about. He's the managing partner at Wamda Capital, co-founder of Ruwad. It's getting a little bit loud in here. and
Co-founder of what did you say?
and Ruwad helps disenfranchise communities.
Okay,
and,
but
and,
originally Aramex, the first listed Arabic company on the Nasdaq.
Yes, Aramex, right? Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're gonna shoot. We're gonna change location. Go do the interview with Fadi. Stay tuned. Welcome to Smashi Business. So we're at the Web Summit. We're going to be honest with people. This is our second take. Luckily for you, you said a lot of things that are not going to be included in this interview. So you're going to be more careful, right?
Yes, well, depends on what you ask.
Okay, let's see. Let's start with the Web Summit here in Qatar. It's a very exciting atmosphere. The Prime Minister announced a $1 billion fund for VCs in the region and globally. What do you think of that? And also, are we seeing a shift in the market where it's no longer that we want to go to New York or we want to go to London, it's that they want to come to Doha, they want to come to Dubai?
So, one, for QIA to announce that it wants to have a $1 billion fund of funds investing in VCs that want to come and fuel the ecosystem here is a brilliant idea. Mm-hmm. And any country, any city that wants to have an ecosystem happen, it has to have its own sovereign wealth funds, its own governments actually be the first people that take that step. And that step will create a lot of confidence with many family offices in Qatar that says, if our sovereign wealth fund is investing, then we want to tag along. So you're going to have much more than that $1 billion because that statement becomes a role model and people will follow. So I'm excited. And lots of companies are going to come to the region globally maybe, but lots of companies will come out from here. This is what we want, our own entrepreneurs. And when you have VCs that get money from the sovereign wealth funds like you are, that says, if you take money from us, you need to invest in companies in our region that want to set up in our region and employ our people and bring in talent to the region, then that is stuff that is going to move the needle and change and actually have an ecosystem.
I saw that. I basically stalk everything that you do, and I'm not ashamed to say it on camera. But I love that line because there's really been a shift in the market. The UAE and Saudi are, looking to acquire several things, including, Abu Dhabi is looking to, buy the Telegraph and the Spectator, and the West is not that happy about it.
Look, I don't care really what the West thinks. I'll be honest. We care about our region. We want to make a statement in our region. Nobody is going to give us any lessons with anything nowadays, given the situation in Gaza, and we see the double standards. And we see that the preaching is in one direction for one part of the world, and then they ignore the human suffering that is happening to the Palestinians in Gaza. So no, please don't preach. Focus on your own countries, and we'll focus on ours. We'll know how to solve our own problems. We don't need any teachers anymore.
Absolutely.
We're done. We can build our own startups. We can invest in our own startups. We have enough talent in the region. We don't want to be separate from the world, but we also want to be respected. So we have our ways. You don't like them, you don't need to come here. But that's who we are, and we're not ashamed of it.
That's an amazing statement. Yes. And I think we're not going to go too deep into politics because I want to ask you a lot about the startup ecosystem. However, it's important to note that, again, the sentiment is changing. Amjad, the CEO of Replit, yesterday at the opening ceremony spoke about Gaza, called the leaders out. And he wasn't cancelled, and he's still CEO today. We had Paddy Cosgrove, one of the co-founders of the Web Summit. He left because in the beginning, when the situation started, after October 7, he did speak out, and he was pushed out. And
it's very ridiculous that Paddy would speak out and he gets cancelled. So what kind of a statement is that? What did he say anyway? He talked about the human suffering. If you are going to cancel somebody because he calls out human suffering, you need to think about your own humanity. So there is suffering in Gaza, and there are many thousands and thousands of children and women that are dying, and so you come out and you want to cancel Fadi? No, and he's suing them now, and I respect that, and I'm going to support that. Amjad Mas'ad is a courageous man. He cannot be cancelled. And Paul Graham is one heck of a voice. I have so much respect for him. And I'll tell you, we in the tech ecosystem love these people. We love them here, and we are going to support them. And they are our voice also.
Absolutely, absolutely. Speaking of support, I say this story, and I've said it so many times because it's a story that a lot of people won't forget. You called out, the lack of funding on stage a couple of years ago. I'll say it quickly. Labad was standing on stage. He said, let's invest in startups. We're here to invest. And you said, where were you, Abu Rashid, when Aramex was looking for funding? It's changed. It's changed a lot. But you said it's good now that it's the funding went up, and then now it's stabilizing a little bit.
Markets, Abu Rashid Muhammad Al-Abbad is an ecosystem builder himself. He's built cities, he's built communities, he's built Noon, a big local regional brand that we're proud of. And he puts his money where his mouth is. When he decides to do something, he will do it. He also invested in Aramex, so eventually. But talking about funding, with zero interest rate, there was a lot of free money. It's no longer there. It's just back to normal. So it's not that there is no funding, that there is much more smart money now. And smart money looks for smarter companies. And so our entrepreneurs and our ecosystem needs to come to terms with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It is the reality. This is how the world is. The past 10 years of zero interest rate were an anomaly. It's not going to come back. If it does, it will come back way after the coming 10, 20 years. So get used to it, and thank God that it's here, because we're finally having our feet on the ground now. We're back down to earth.
Definitely. I spoke to Walid Deeb from Hella Insurance, and it was a big story we did a couple of weeks back. He said, I shut down Hella Insurance because there was no market fit, and I didn't want to burn investor money, and he gave back some of that investor money. Should we see more of that happening with founders? Are founders being a little bit irresponsible with VC money?
Giving back money it's nice of him to do that. I haven't heard this happen in anywhere. So if he did that, I didn't know the story. Good for him.
Maybe you should follow Smashi Business more often, Fadi.
I will, I promise. But I'll tell you what. VCs are built, especially early stage VCs, are built with the thesis that they will have failure. So we don't have a problem with failure, and neither do entrepreneurs should have problem with failure. It is part of maturity in an ecosystem. So there's no problem. I don't think we should get stuck on failures. We should build for them. And if you haven't, then you don't know how to invest.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Anghami failed because it's planning to delist?
I would say Anghami's listing did not work, but Anghami as a company works, and so maybe not the best thing for it was to be on Nasdaq. But they're smart enough to think about the survival of the business and the company, and continue to build a beautiful brand that they built. The two entrepreneurs are fantastic people. I'm good friends with them. I have a massive amount of respect for them. It is not easy to build what they built, but maybe they realize now that maybe being public is not what they want to do, and good for them. But I would bet that brand is going to stay in the region. We need a brand like that in the region.
Absolutely. Will we see more, M&A, more acquisitions, Saud acquired rising giants? Will we also see regional companies acquire companies from abroad?
Aramex went on an acquisition spree for a long time. It's our 42nd year as a company, right? So we were acquiring companies Australia and South Africa, and so it can be done. I mean, lots of companies out of this region, with the money that is coming out from the sovereign wealth funds, you are seeing lots of acquisitions going global. So I'm in the tech ecosystem. What South did is beautiful. Also, it has been, South barely raised any money, and they're very successful.
Yeah.
Small company, growing. I have a lot of respect for what they've done. So it will happen. Look, with less funding, I think entrepreneurs, if they're smart enough, they'll put their ego aside and go find ways to merge.
Definitely. Do you think, I'm curious about this, some people are saying Kareem and Souk, exited, sold out, and that they should have continued and that they could have taken over the market.
I know both companies because I'm an investor. I was an investor in both. I sat on the board of Kareem, and I know the story. I know Ronnie very well. The problem there are two different problems, but Souk, unfortunately, did not get any regional funding of size. If people wanted Souk to stay as an independent company in the region, they should have stepped up and invested. Mm-hmm. They did not, and so they got the opportunity with Amazon. And so the most important thing about that it's here, it's employing massive amounts of regional talent, and it has a good brand, and it creates competition between Souk and Noon. With Kareem, it also had an issue with funding. And I think Kareem and Mudassir in what they're doing now in building the super app is fantastic. They're keeping the brand. They have regional money from Etisalat. So again, that's maturity. Etisalat stepping up and investing $400 million in Kareem super app is a statement by the region. It's a regional brand, regional money, making a difference for the consumer in the region. Fantastic. That's what we want more of.
Absolutely. I love hearing that. It's great advice, Fadi. And I'm just thinking there's Shark Tank Dubai. You're giving all this advice. Why are you not on a show like that? Would you ever do a show like that?
It's not my thing, to be fair. So Shark Tank is great. Most of all the guys that are on Shark Tank are my friends.
Have you watched any episodes?
I have a lot of respect for them. I've done that, but I did watch some shows. But I'm not made for that. So I'm where I have my passion, and that's not my passion.
Okay. One last question. You spoke about retirement earlier. You said retirement is a silly word. Explain it.
No, for me, it's a silly word. There's no definition of it. What does retirement mean? Do what? So no, I am an extremely busy man. I'm a serial entrepreneur, whether in for-profit businesses or not for-profit. So as you know, I have Ruwad al-Tanmiya in Jordan, Palestine now, in Egypt, we were for a long time in Lebanon, doing good and bringing your talent, your network, your capabilities, your funding, your friends into marginalized communities is a must for us. And for those of us that made it, for those of us that were lucky. And there's a lot of need in this region. So we need to step up. And after Gaza, we need to step up. And there are so many our friends from the Palestinian diaspora and Arabs that are very keen on thinking about the rebuilding and the youth of Gaza and the youth of Palestine. And for those people who think that Palestinians are not ready to build their state, they don't know the Palestinian talent globally.
And the resilience, right?
Plenty of them, and they are all ready to come back. So again, don't tell us we're not ready. We are absolutely ready.
On that note, thank you so much, Fadi. Clearly we're ready. We're at the Web Summit in Qatar. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.